I would find myself in the throes of a mighty battle, or perhaps a mighty slaughter would be more appropriate. Two species were embroiled in conflict, and this I would observe. I was accompanied by a friend I know from the physical level. This individual I have mentioned before. He has featured in other real-side experiences. I won't say his name. Mr. Anonymous is an individual completely immersed with his personal created self. Despite my constantly speaking of the real references of the ears and sharing with him my dream experiences, he bears my words patiently, seems curiously accepting of them, but has no interest whatsoever. The fact he still is in my experience and his suggests some emotional attachment possibly, and I have had real-side dreams where he has featured, suggesting I must be cautious, that I am not seduced too much by the tap-line trappings of this matrix, and indeed agreement to the limited position that they represent. But I suggest that if one speaks of the ears, and an individual seems to remain as an associate despite their seeming disinterest, then something must be activating somewhere, an agreement on maybe a life level beyond the physical, to the possibilities beyond the literal personal self, for everyone has a real self, and that and life will constantly be trying to get the attention of the personal self, for he was with me here, observing this conflict. We were on a planet where the surface had been abandoned. It was an arid and forbidding place, and possibly another planet where the surface has been made uninhabitable, like Mars, and very soon Earth. And thus this battle was subterranean, taking place in large carved-out sections of the planet beneath the abandoned surface world. I say it was more a slaughter, as it seemed somewhat one-sided. On the one side were what I impressioned to be the inhabitants, and these seemed rather defenseless. They were humanoid, had no clothings whatsoever, and were completely hairless. Their skins were a grey-blue colour, and they were desperately attempting to escape. The other side had far greater technologies to draw upon, huge machines of destruction, blasting laser fire and destroying the grey-skinned humanoids. I assumed these machines were piloted or controlled by another species, but I could see no visible sign of them, so can make no determination. Even though we were bearing witness and standing in plain sight, we had no necessity to conceal ourselves, as we were unseen by both of the species, suggesting we were viewing from a position where we were unable to be perceived. Perhaps a higher life level then, a different vibrational standing, but with awareness we could see far more. As awareness in such real side situations does afford one ability, on occasion, to see multiple life levels simultaneously, and ultimately were one to become as aware as, say, a guide, being everywhere at once and perceiving, recognizing everything simultaneously would be so. Evidently, I was with, perhaps, a higher life level version of my friend also, and had managed to get his attention, and perhaps take him on this little sightseeing trip, to maybe impress upon him something more than he has considered. As usually, his primary consideration would be the securing of his next alcoholic beverage. Some of the grey, blue-skinned peoples were scrambling to the surface now, perhaps that being safer than the subterranean networks now filled with their enemy. These defenseless peoples were rather hard to kill, seemed their skins were very durable and resistant. They were certainly fireproof, as was demonstrated when they emerged on the surface. As to get there, they had to pass through lava-filled holes in the earth, and appeared to be unscathed. The surface arid, dead and lifeless, nothing organic. Not a tree, or a hint of anything natural. We are reminded again of how this is a warring universe, that nowhere is safe in this particular creation, and always potential conflict is around the corner. The last scene would have my moving from my observing capacity to a position more of interjection. It's difficult to discern exactly what happened, the manner by which I involved myself. I seemed to know what I was doing, and so was very much connected to my real self. With some dreams of a nature that require the real self to be fully connected with, any involvement on the part of the personal self will disrupt and reduce the experience, diminish the execution that requires full real self-immersion. As I have had on previous real-side experiences, allowing the personal self to creep in can completely ruin what was intended. This, I suspect, is why we may have periods of little or no dream recollection. The real side is going on, as it constantly is, including our real self activities on it. But if the activities are of a delicate nature that require the real self more so, then perhaps better that the personal self does not get to experience and witness these, as the possibility of its interjection and disruption may be less than beneficial, particularly if other beings are involved. Everything is experience, and for comparison, and is recognitional purposes. But on occasion, things may be going on that an individual isn't ready to know yet, and perhaps the personal self not trusted enough to remain in the background and let the real self go about activities of a more delicate nature. I was able to facilitate then the removal of these grey-skinned beings to some other location. We were in a tunnel system of a kind, with large stone doorways that intersected them. The stone doors I had to open, and so I did, as only I could seemingly do this, and afford these peoples passage onward. I'm uncertain where we were, but as I said, the real self was in control, and was just doing what it was. But I think we were on a different planet now, not entirely safe from the machines of these people's enemy, but concealed from them at least, as I took them deeper into this tunnel system. My friend was still with me, accompanying me, but not directly involved, more that he was given the opportunity to witness these happenings, as a benefit for his awareness, perhaps. This is where the dream would end. The grey-skinned humanoids were safe for now. Sometimes we must be cautious that on our journey of ease recognition, that we don't become embroiled with the ideas that present themselves, as everything in creation, including wars and individuals presenting as opposition, represent ideas. To engage has us agreeing with these ideas, and we may well take a dualistic position and be involved in a battle, even if it is seemingly a noble stance of good versus evil, etc. We ought better walk around such creational ideas and treat them with detached objectivity, despite the nature of them, lest we be unnecessarily pulled out of the new nowness of the is. For many can and may fall on the journey as they become involved in the fight, and indeed many such conflicts are set up for this very reason, as snares, to trap people in cause and effect creation. We will have to deal with cause and effect. We always are creating something, as we share the is, etc. But like Paul in The Tiger's Fang, Rebazar advised him not to intercede in the barroom brawl, or take on unnecessary karma. On this occasion, though, in this dream, my real self was definitely at the wheel. You get to recognize the degree to which it is or not, or if the personal self is creeping in, or there in its limited literal entirety. And so, in this state of beingness, connected fully to the real self, I was confident that my activities here would not get me in trouble, karmically speaking, and even if it should the personal self have been present and did things it should not have, we will make mistakes on occasion and fall on our faces as we proceed with our journeys at times, as long as whatever transpired was from a place of sincerity. We are reminded how creation isn't a safe place, and even if we decide to make a cozy spot somewhere within it, it doesn't tend to last for long. We are always having to deal with the creation's decisions of others, and as the final epoch and creation lurches toward oblivion due to the agreed upon restrictions, it is more than apparent that the only assured safety, the only real freedom, can only be found beyond the imploding psych realms, through awareness and recognition of the real universes of the ears, that a universal positioning can be attained beyond the simulator. For this is our real intent and purpose for being in the simulator after all. But it is a choice that every individual must decide for themselves, or stay lost in an ever-worsening matrix where danger lurks at every corner, and the machines of war are forever a possibility.
Yes, you're being prepared for what's to come. You're a key asset to all of this, young man. So, yes, you're seeing it. Heads up. Very real, everybody. Yes, there is no life here. It's all simulated. It's all Tinseltown. There's just your real awareness and figuring it out.